Imagine 4 bottles sitting on a table. Saw Palmetto, pumpkin seed oil, caffeine, rosemary. Each one is different, yet all 4 are sold with the same promise. They can block DHT naturally. For someone losing hair, that promise is almost impossible to ignore. DHT is one of the main forces behind male pattern hair loss, and Finasteride is one of the most established ways to reduce it. But many people hesitate because of the side effects they have heard about. So they search for a better deal, the protection of Finasteride without taking Finasteride. That is where natural DHT blockers enter the story. But there is a hidden problem. One of these ingredients has human evidence suggesting a real antiandrogenic effect. Another produced an impressive increase in hair count without proving that it reduced DHT at all. The remaining 2 may support hair growth through completely different mechanisms while still being marketed as hormone blockers. They all carry the same label. They do not have the same evidence. So can any natural ingredient genuinely protect follicles from DHT, or has marketing combined 4 different biological experiments into one misleading category? But before we dive into the science, please subscribe to HairLab Explained if you want to understand hair loss through evidence, not myths. Now, let's begin. What a real DHT blocker must prove. DHT, or dihydrotestosterone, is created when an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase converts testosterone into a more powerful androgen. In genetically sensitive scalp follicles, DHT binds to androgen receptors and changes the messages produced inside the follicle. The growth phase becomes shorter. The follicle gradually becomes smaller. And over repeated cycles, a thick hair can become thin, short, and almost invisible. Think of the follicle as a factory and DHT as a messenger carrying instructions to reduce production. A true DHT focus treatment must interrupt that message. It might reduce the amount of DHT being created, prevent DHT from binding effectively, or weaken the androgen signal that follows. But this is where the standard of evidence begins to collapse. A plant extract may slow an enzyme inside a laboratory dish and immediately be called a DHT blocker. A mouse may grow more hair after receiving an ingredient, and the same claim appears on a human supplement. A clinical trial may show increased hair counts without measuring hormones at all, yet the result is described as proof that DHT was reduced. Those findings are not equivalent. A laboratory experiment tells us that a mechanism may be possible. A human hair count study tells us that something may have improved. A hormonal measurement tells us whether DHT actually changed. An ideal natural DHT blocker would demonstrate all 3. Most do not. And this creates the central reveal behind the entire video. A product can help hair without proving that it blocked DHT. And a product can block an enzyme in a laboratory without proving that it protects human hair. Saw Palmetto, the closest contender. Saw Palmetto has the strongest claim to being a genuine natural antiandrogen. It comes from the berries of Serenoa repens and contains fatty acids and plant sterols that have shown activity involving 5-alpha reductase in laboratory research. More importantly, Saw Palmetto has been compared directly with Finasteride in humans. In one 2-year study, 100 men with mild to moderate androgenetic alopecia received either 320 milligrams of Saw Palmetto daily or 1 milligram of Finasteride. At the end of the study, approximately 38% of the Saw Palmetto group showed increased hair growth. In the Finasteride group, approximately 68% improved. The location of the response was also different. Finasteride appeared to help both the frontal region and the crown, while the improvement with Saw Palmetto was observed mainly around the crown. That result gives us 2 important answers. First, Saw Palmetto was not useless. More than 1/3 of the men showed improvement, which makes it more credible than many supplements supported only by laboratory claims. But second, it did not perform like Finasteride. The proportion of men improving was much lower, and the effect appeared less broadly distributed across the scalp. Imagine 2 brakes on the same moving car. Both may slow it. One applies much more force. That is the fairest way to understand Saw Palmetto. It may have a genuine antiandrogenic effect, but calling it natural Finasteride hides the difference in strength, reliability, and clinical evidence. It is the closest contender. It is not an equal replacement. Pumpkin seed oil. The 40% surprise. Pumpkin seed oil produced one of the most impressive numbers in natural hair loss research. In a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, 76 men with androgenetic alopecia received either 400 milligrams of pumpkin seed oil daily or a placebo for 24 weeks. By the end of the study, the average hair count in the pumpkin seed oil group had increased by approximately 40%. The placebo group increased by roughly 10%. That sounds stronger than the Palmetto result. It even sounds powerful enough to challenge established treatment. But then we ask the question that changes everything. Did the researchers prove that DHT was reduced? No. They did not measure scalp DHT. They did not demonstrate reduced 5-alpha reductase activity inside the participants' follicles. And they did not compare pumpkin seed oil directly with Finasteride. The study provided evidence of hair growth. It did not establish the exact mechanism. Pumpkin seed oil contains phytosterols, fatty acids, antioxidants, and other compounds that may influence inflammation, follicle signaling, or androgen-related pathways. But the human trial cannot tell us which of those possibilities produced the result. Think of a factory that suddenly increases production after receiving a new shipment. Perhaps the shipment repaired the machinery. Perhaps it improved the fuel. Perhaps it changed the instructions given to the workers. We can see that production rose. We cannot automatically claim which system was responsible. This is the contradiction that makes pumpkin seed oil so interesting. It has one of the strongest human hair count signals among natural treatments, yet it has much weaker proof that it actually blocked DHT. The number is exciting. The explanation remains unfinished. Caffeine. The stimulant wearing the wrong label. Caffeine is found in shampoos, tonics, serums, and leave-in treatments marketed for thinning hair. Laboratory studies suggest that caffeine can enter hair follicles and may influence cellular energy, growth signaling, and the duration of the active growth phase. Some experiments also suggest that it may counter certain growth-suppressing effects seen when follicles are exposed to testosterone. Then came a human comparison that attracted attention. A multi-center study compared a topical 0.2% caffeine solution with 5% minoxidil in 210 men over 6 months. The caffeine product met the study's non-inferiority target for changes in the proportion of hairs in the growth phase. At first, that sounds extraordinary. Caffeine appeared to compete with 5% minoxidil. But the trial was open-label, had no placebo group, and focused on changes in anagen rate rather than proving identical long-term visible regrowth. And the biggest limitation is even simpler. The study did not prove that caffeine lowered scalp DHT. Caffeine may support follicle activity. It may help some hairs remain in the growth phase. It may act more like a local stimulant. But stimulation and protection are different jobs. Calling caffeine a DHT blocker is like calling fertilizer an insecticide because both can improve a crop. Fertilizer may help the plant grow more strongly. That does not mean it removed the pest attacking the roots. Caffeine may be a useful supporting ingredient. Its strongest human evidence does not establish it as a true DHT blocking treatment. Rosemary. Promising but still unproven. Rosemary is now the most famous natural alternative because of the 6-month study comparing a standardized rosemary lotion with 2% minoxidil. Both groups increased their hair counts, and the researchers did not detect a statistically significant difference between them. But as we uncovered in the previous video, that trial did not compare rosemary with 5% minoxidil. It was not designed to prove that the treatments were universally equivalent. And it did not measure scalp DHT. The idea that rosemary blocks DHT comes mainly from earlier research involving rosemary leaf extract in mice and laboratory cells. Those experiments suggested possible effects involving 5-alpha reductase or androgen receptor signaling. That is a scientific clue. It is not proof that ordinary rosemary oil meaningfully lowers DHT inside human scalp follicles. Rosemary may affect circulation, inflammation, oxidative stress, microbes, or the overall scalp environment. Any of these could potentially influence hair growth. But the famous human trial measured hair counts. It did not demonstrate an antiandrogenic mechanism. Rosemary therefore belongs in a similar category to caffeine. Biologically interesting, supported by a limited human signal, but marketed with a stronger DHT claim than the human measurements justify. This reveals the most important contradiction in the entire natural treatment market. The products with the most exciting hair growth numbers are not necessarily the products with the strongest evidence of DHT reduction, and the ingredient with the clearest antiandrogenic case, saw Palmetto, still appeared considerably weaker than Finasteride. The bottle problem. Even when a natural ingredient has promising evidence, the product inside your bottle may not match the product used in the study. Finasteride tablets are manufactured to deliver a defined amount of one known active drug. Botanical products are far more variable. Saw Palmetto extracts can differ in their fatty acid composition and extraction method. Pumpkin seed products can vary in processing and concentration. Rosemary's chemical profile changes with geography, climate, plant variety, extraction, and storage. Caffeine products use different concentrations and delivery systems. A plant is not one molecule. It is a chemical library. Two bottles can display the same ingredient on the label while delivering different chapters from that library. This is why copying a research headline does not guarantee that a random supplement or cosmetic product will recreate the same exposure. Natural also does not mean harmless. Botanical products can cause allergic reactions, digestive problems, skin irritation, or interactions with medications. And any ingredient strong enough to meaningfully change human biology deserves to be treated with respect. The choice is not between dangerous medicine and harmless nature. It is between treatments with different evidence, different consistency, and different levels of predictability. The final verdict. So, do natural DHT blockers actually work? The answer depends on what we mean by work. If we mean showing the clearest human evidence of a real antiandrogenic effect, saw Palmetto ranks first. But the direct comparison suggested that it was less effective and less consistent than Finasteride. If we mean producing the most surprising placebo-controlled increase in hair count, pumpkin seed oil ranks first. But the study did not prove that DHT was responsible. If we mean possible topical growth support, caffeine is interesting. Yet its human evidence makes it look more like a stimulant than a confirmed hormone blocker. And rosemary has a promising comparison with 2% minoxidil, but no direct human proof that it lowers scalp DHT. So the final ranking is not 4 versions of the same treatment. It is 4 different biological possibilities hidden beneath one marketing phrase. Saw Palmetto is the closest thing to a natural DHT blocker. Pumpkin seed oil has the strongest surprising growth signal. Caffeine behaves more like a stimulant. Rosemary remains promising but underconfirmed. And none currently has evidence as deep, consistent, or predictable as Finasteride for suitable men with androgenetic alopecia. That does not mean natural treatments are worthless. For someone who cannot or will not use established medication, a carefully selected natural option may be better than doing nothing. But the decision should be based on realistic expectations, not the assumption that a leaf, seed, or berry automatically provides pharmaceutical-level protection. If you're looking for trusted hair loss products or personalized treatment options, you'll find carefully selected resources in the description below. The unforgettable lesson is this: the natural product with the strongest DHT blocking case was still weaker than Finasteride, and the products with the most impressive growth results never proved that they blocked DHT at all. Hair growth and hair loss protection can overlap. They are not always the same thing, because every answer leads to another question. In our next video, we will answer the question almost everyone noticing temple recession is afraid to ask. Can a receding hairline actually grow back, or is it already too late? We will reveal why 2 identical-looking hairlines can have completely different futures, the hidden signs that follicles may still be recoverable, and when treatment can no longer rebuild the shape you want. The answer might completely change how quickly you decide to act. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe to HairLab Explained. I'll see you in the next video.